Yes, welcome everyone. Marijuana Times show for December 12th, 2017. I am your host, Joe Klare. You can find me and many other great writers over at marijuanatimes.org, keeping you up to date on all the latest in the cannabis community and industry, all the news and opinion you need. You can also find these videos there as well to share with those in your social media networks through email. However you want to share it. Of course, you can find the Marijuana Times show is now an audio podcast on Apple Podcasts. Just search the Marijuana Times on Apple Podcasts and get the Marijuana Times show on the go. Today we're talking about whether or not they will allow social use clubs in Massachusetts for recreational marijuana. Also, some stuff going on in Ohio as the rather restrictive medical marijuana program there grinds along, and also Los Angeles finally joining the ranks of other California cities that have released regulations as far as how they're going to treat recreational marijuana. We'll talk about all of that coming up, of course. But first, I'll tell you about the awesome sponsor of the Marijuana Times show, NatureSideCannabis.com. NatureSide's line of all-natural pesticide products, organic. If you're a cultivator in like California or Colorado, Oregon or Washington or anywhere else where cannabis cultivation is legal, there's a lot of regulations that you have to adhere to. There's regulations in place. There are regulations on the way when it comes to pesticide use and what kind of chemicals you can use to control pests in your cannabis grow. And besides the fact, you don't want to be giving people or selling people, your customers, cannabis that's going to harm them, that has harmful chemicals in it. That's where NatureSideCannabis.com comes in. They can help you with their all-natural organic products. They can also help you become regulatory compliant in your state. Proud sponsor of the Marijuana Times show, NatureSideCannabis.com. Thank you to them. This first story comes from MarijuanaTimes.org. Massachusetts lawmakers contemplate cannabis clubs. Julia Granowitz wrote this over at MarijuanaTimes.org. She says a debate on whether to allow cannabis clubs or not has been a hot topic in states where recreational use of cannabis is legal. In Colorado, Washington, and Oregon, many establishments have been shut down since there are no regulations to govern such businesses. In Alaska, they have planned to implement a plan to allow a consumption area within licensed dispensaries with an endorsement, but this has yet to be done. However, something cannabis activists and advocates have been asking for a number of reasons. In Denver, a citizens' initiative passed that will soon allow local businesses to obtain a license to allow on-site consumption of cannabis, being the first law of its kind in a state that allows for adult use of cannabis. It appears a couple more recent states to legalize the herb have seen the sense behind allowing cannabis clubs in one form or another, as both Nevada and now Massachusetts are looking into allowing this to become a reality. Michael Latolippi, an official with the I'm sure I got that wrong. I apologize. Official with the Massachusetts Patient Advocacy Alliance and a member of the Cannabis Advisory Board, said, quote, "The package store model is old-fashioned and the customer really wants an outlet, a place to consume cannabis and do so safely." Latolippi, that may be right, provided a subcommittee of the Cannabis Advisory Board with recommendations on how to incorporate social consumption, and the Cannabis Control Commission is expected to incorporate it into its draft regulations for the illegal cannabis industry. Latolippi, if I say it enough different ways, I'm bound to get it right. By having these outside facilities, he said, we could potentially alleviate the need for some parents to go home with their cannabis themselves, allowing them to consume it on site. It also alleviates the issue of interstate trafficking with tourists and people who are going to be coming to the state. Requiring them to bar large amounts of cannabis could cause some problems. In other words, a lot of tourists come to Massachusetts or Colorado or other states, and they don't have a place to smoke cannabis. They don't have a place to consume cannabis. Public consumption is illegal. They don't live there. They can't do it in their hotel if there's not a hotel friendly to that sort of use. So they need some place akin to a bar for alcohol users that would allow them to consume the cannabis that they purchase. It seems like something that's going to be part of the natural fabric of legalization. If you're going to treat marijuana like alcohol, that has to be included. There has to be a place where someone can go to use cannabis, where they don't have to worry about, the people at their house, their kids, their employers, law enforcement, any of that. There has to be a place where they can use And hopefully Massachusetts or some other state leads the way in that so that people can see exactly how it'll work and the need for it and see how it alleviates the problems that are associated with public consumption and the like. So go check out that story at marijuanatimes.org. This next story comes from Cincinnati.com, Cincinnati Inquirer. Ohio officials call, this is a rather long title. Ohio officials call for freeze on marijuana growers' licenses after learning convicted drug dealer participated in the review process. Of course, of state and local officials on Wednesday called for a freeze on state-issued medical marijuana growers' licenses after learning one of the consultants hired to grade license applications is a convicted drug dealer. Quote, it's possible that this just looks horrible and there's not a problem, but I wouldn't put money on that, according to State Auditor Dave Yost, who said that at the very least, consultants' criminal background calls into question the integrity of the selection process. He said, it seems to me, at the very least, we could hit the pause button on this and evaluate whether the process is on the up and up, Yost told the Inquirer. We're seeking information on exactly what was done and what should have been done. Last week, the Ohio Department of Commerce awarded 12 preliminary Level 1 licenses for medical marijuana growers with up to 25,000 square feet of growing space. Cincinnati-based Canna Ascend, Ohio, one of the 97 applicants, denied a Level 1 grower's license. Contested the results and discovered that one of the application reviewers pled guilty in 2005 to possession with intent to manufacture or distribute a controlled substance in Pennsylvania and was sentenced to 3 years probation. The Inquirer independently verified the guilty plea and the sentence of Trevor C. Bozeman. Bozeman declined to comment when reached by phone Tuesday. The State Commerce Department said each of the three consultants were paid up to $150,000 to grade applications for Level 1 licenses. Well, that's a job. That's a cushy job if you can get it, right? They said they met the standards set forth in the state's request for proposals. However, the state agency overseeing Ohio's medical marijuana control program did not say whether those standards included state and federal background checks or whether the agency was aware of Bozeman's criminal background. Lieutenant Governor Mary Taylor, who's running for governor, expressed grave concern over Bozeman's criminal background and called for the halting of the reviewing and selection process. She said, quote, I am outraged that a convicted drug dealer played a major role in determining who was suitable to receive a license. At a minimum, the integrity of the process has been called into question, and it is unconscionable to imagine that this process will be allowed to continue until we have a full reckoning. So I've talked about the medical marijuana program in Ohio in recent Marijuana Times shows, and how issue 3 would have been much better than what Ohio is getting right now. You can go back and look at that, one of those old episodes. I'm not going to rehash, pardon the pun, that, but this is going to grind on for a while. The process in Ohio, the licensing for what is rather restrictive, at least especially compared to issue 3 and what that would have done, medical marijuana program, it's just, I don't know. It could have been so much more. But instead we have this, and there may be another delay. Everything's supposed to be up and running by September of 2018, but if there's a delay in the growers' licenses, then, I mean, it starts dragging through the courts and other politicians and bureaucrats start getting involved. Could have a bit of a problem. This last story is from the Associated Press. This particular version, NBCnews.com. Los Angeles to become largest U.S. city with legal recreational marijuana. Los Angeles will become the nation's largest city with recreational pot after the city council voted Wednesday to license sales next year. After months of debate and political snags, the council approved rules to usher in commercial sales and cultivation, set to begin in less than a month under an initiative approved by state voters, that of course being Amendment 64, Proposition 64. Under Los Angeles regulations, residential neighborhoods will be largely off limits to pot businesses, and buffer zones will be set up around schools, libraries, and parks. Yes, the ever-present and necessary buffer zones, because if there's a retail shop near a school, well then everything's going to fall apart. The New Year is just weeks away, however, and with the holidays coming, industry experts say it's not clear how many businesses, if any, will be ready to open their doors on January 1st to hordes of anxious customers. If demand is not satisfied in the legal market, then, quote, you are just giving oxygen to the black market we all want to eradicate, said Adam Spiker, executive director of the Southern California Coalition, which is a cannabis industry group. Of course, medical marijuana has been legal in California for a couple decades now. The dense set of regulations, I think I read somewhere there was 70 pages of regulations. If you'd like to wade into that, if it's that important to you to know the ins and outs of the regulations in Los Angeles, like if you're a business owner or a possible customer, then I would suggest you do so. Otherwise, well, I mean, unless you feel like wading through 70 pages of city regulations on recreational marijuana, that's up to you. It was passed Wednesday. These regulations dictate where pot can be grown and sold in the new marketplace, along with how the businesses will be licensed. Of course, businesses that want to participate in the marketplace need local permits before they can apply for state licenses required to operate in 2018. Los Angeles City Council President Herb J. Wesson Jr. said Wednesday, as quote, as lawmakers, we have a responsibility to reasonably regulate this industry in a manner that is safe, inclusive, and practical. Los Angeles alone is home to up to 4 million people. That's a lot of cannabis consumers. There's been a lot of issues. If you haven't followed what's going on in Los Angeles over the last several years, there's been a lot of issues when it comes to medical marijuana dispensaries, whether they're legal, whether they're not legal, whether they're zoned properly, whether they can be open, whether they can be closed. A few years ago, hundreds of Los Angeles dispensaries were closed, severely restricting access for medical marijuana patients in LA. Hopefully, things will be done a little bit differently now in LA when it comes to adult use. Hopefully, they will get their act together, and hopefully, cannabis patients will no longer have to rely on the black market in Los Angeles and will actually be able to participate in the legal market, which is the point, of course, or the major points of legalization. That's the Marijuana Times show for December 7th, 2017. Thank you for sharing, liking, commenting, all that. Spread the word about the show. Share it on your social media. Thanks to NatureSideCannabis.com for being a proud sponsor of the Marijuana Times show. Natural organic pesticides for your cannabis grow. Natureside, that's CIDE, NatureSideCannabis.com. Thank you to them. If you want to sponsor the show, email us at info@marijuanatimes.org and let us know. Thank you for watching. Until next time, this is the Marijuana Times show. Thanks, everybody.